notice something? Someone told me if they see anything. Yeah, so I'm wearing the exact same clothes.
There's a new big more medals now.
Yes. So just a bit of background. This picture was taken at my previous graduation, which was in December. And this pin reflects, you get it every time you get a degree at my university. And I was looking last night at the slides and I was like, wouldn't it be great if I was wearing the same exact clothes? Because in my country, different from TUM or NU, the graduation ceremony is something really big. Because for some people it's the first time going to university, first time getting out of the poverty. And we show that by bringing all your family members and dressing appropriately. So I wanted to show the same respect to you guys. Make sure I'm visible online. So, get clone, get add, get commit, and get push. These 4 commands, every software engineer must know whenever they want to collaborate with others on any programming project. And they allow us to make backups of our code, keep versions of it for when you make a really big mistake and you need to go back, and also to share it with everyone in the world. But why am I talking about Git to an audience with product managers, designers, and marketers? Because for me, the journey of the DPS was exactly like these 4 commands that I have to execute every single day as a software engineer. So, 3 months ago, good afternoon, everyone. Really thank you to the core team for nominating me, for giving this opportunity to reflect on my journey and to share some words. I felt that this experience really bubbled something up within me, and I'm really excited to give something back as well. So 3 months ago, I climbed onto the bus to Wannenburg, and I drove all the way there. It took long, but it was the simplest connection because it was the first time I took the public transport alone in Willem. And thinking back to those first moments when we met everyone, and for a moment just do that yourself as well. Take yourself back to this moment where you didn't know anyone, and you still had to get to know people's names, where they come from. And thinking back to that, and now, I never thought that the DPS experience would be as rich and as complete as it did. I truly believe that the DPS did something to me that I can't explain yet, and it made an impact on me that I will carry for the rest of my life. So, something that you guys might not know about me is I really love data, especially gathering my own data. So I was looking at my stress levels throughout the DPS. I love my smartwatch, and I can tell you that it definitely went up. I also looked, I made a script on my phone that makes a timestamp when I leave home and makes a timestamp when I arrive here, so I could make a confidence interval of how long it takes me to get to work. I can tell you it takes me between 42 and 47 minutes. But I didn't want to show you those boring data. What I rather wanted to show you was my coding time. And I've got an extension on VS Code that tracks the amount of time that I'm coding. And I really felt that there were some really interesting insights to prove the point from the DPS. So in this table, just quickly talking about the headings, it tracks the active coding time, so the amount of time I'm actually writing, executing commands. It also tracks my coding time in general, how much I scroll and click around. I set my working hours between 8 and 5, and it told me how many hours of that falls within those times. And it also tracked my meeting time when I connected my DPS school account. Keep in mind, this didn't include the general events, only our team meetings. And also not our partner sets. But it's not really the numbers that I want to show, because please, I don't want to brag, please. But it's more the colors. So if I point the direction to the right-hand side, we can see that in the beginning, our team really took us a while to get our groove. We spent a lot of time in meetings that weren't so effective, but as you can see, after iteration 4, we found our groove and we stuck to it. And the column next to it, in the middle of the DPS, I really felt that, wow, I'm so on fire with my coding, like I'm really feeling good about it. And it's because I spend most of my time coding during work and not coding after work. So I could feel relaxed and refreshed for the next day. And then after iteration 6, you can see that the time spent coding really increased a lot, and this coincided with what the DPS said in the beginning, is that in the first few weeks you're still exploring the different possibilities, as in the green, but then later you narrow down on a solution, and in the last few weeks it's just crazy. As you can see there, I spent more than 36 hours coding in the week, and most of it was not during work hours, but that's also just my passion for the project that we had. I also wanted to share things that really stood out for me from the DPS experience. And the first thing was the cultural diversity. So coming into this, I kind of knew that a lot of people would come from different places, but I didn't expect that almost everyone would come from somewhere else. It was the first time that I interacted with people from Eastern Europe, Latin America, people from India as well. And I had such an amazing time learning what makes your brain tick, what things you are used to at home that are not, here. And thank you to everyone allowing me to talk to you during lunch and just learn more about where you come from. Coming from a cultural diverse South Africa, this is really a whole new level for me, and I think this is something that I will take for the rest of my life. Learning an extra translation layer from what people say in English versus what they mean. and also just learning about the different work styles from people from different countries, and having to keep that in mind when going to my next possibility. So the DPS really reminded me about the amazing beauty there is in cultural diversity. So thank you. Another thing that I will take later in my life is this idea and a push to create. I remember so distinctly that in the second week, or somewhere in the very beginning, Stefan came around and he had to give us some advice on what to do next. And I remember we had no clue, absolutely no clue. And I just remember from that meeting, he told us, build something. And we were like, but you don't have enough information. Like, what is there to do? But Stefan was right. Later on one of the Friday evenings, I went home, sat down, and I coded something. And on the test flight build that you can download today, some of that code is still present. And this push to build is a skill that can set you apart from others in the future. And I really want to thank the DPS for emphasizing this. Linking to this, I really want to thank the core team. I'm truly inspired by you. Thank you for your dedication, your selflessness with time, your readiness to help us at all times, your advice, and also your truly great ideas. I want to thank you for mediating when it was necessary, for guiding us, and for helping to make this whole place feel safe. I love that I have a voice when I feel that something needs to change, and that you listen to us. Coming from a big institution where change takes many levels of management, and sometimes you only get, thank you, we'll consider it. Having a voice really made a big impact on me, and I want to thank you for it. And I also want to thank my team. Without you, obviously, we wouldn't have been able to make a success or make anything worthy of showing. And I really feel that I was put in the right team at the right time, even though in the beginning I didn't really understand it. I love my designers. My back-end engineers. I also had on my heart to share some lessons. So, Sebastian, I think I'll take this one for you. So, the first one, and like I shared earlier, is that you don't need to know all the information at all times. It's okay to make assumptions. Do them, write them down, let other people know about it. Have mock-ups, have placeholders, whatever, just to start and build something. Again, this skill will set you apart from others, and I think it's really great to embrace it. The second thing is that sometimes it's better to give the space for other people to grow than to do things yourself. And in the DPS, it's a place where people are encouraged to be different when they end than when they started. And I think sometimes you need to notice when that is necessary. As in the DPS manifesto, never suffer in silence. Hands up, did anyone feel like they were suffering in silence during the DPS? Any flip?
You don't know the words.
So, if you may have felt something similar, but then eventually you spoke up, you would notice that when you don't speak up, you're going to keep on digging your grave and bashing your head against the wall. But when you reach out to your team members, to the core team members, you can find some help. It's also really valuable to just say, hey, I don't have capacity for this right now. And then your team members will empathize with you and not talk behind your back. She's not really participating, he's not participating. But meanwhile, some really hectic things are going on. So never suffer in silence. And lastly, you're never told to play Uno Plus or some sarcastic game about kittens and bombs. Whenever you're in a situation where you're not really sure how to start conversations, card games might be a way to go. So, git clone. This command engineers use when they want to copy the code from an online server to their local computer. And very similarly, when you come to the DPS, you're add into this lived-in space, and you have to adapt a little bit. Git add is the command engineers use when they've made some modifications to the code, they maybe add some new files, and they want to make that contribution visible. And very similarly, throughout the DPS, you get experience and skills that you can take later in life. Git commit. We use it when the files you've changed and added, you feel that, okay, these changes are fine, and I want to make my mark on it. And very similarly, in DPS, you start to work really hard towards the final product show to push out what you made. And git push. I want to ask you a question. After the DPS, what's next for you? With git push, the engineer makes the changes of his computer available to everyone in the world by sending it to the cloud. And very similarly, I want to ask the question, these changes that has happened in you the last 3 months, are you going to keep them inside of you? All these experiences that you've gathered, are you just going to bury them? Will you rather allow these changes to be made public and be shown to everyone wherever you go next? And will you allow these changes to make you stand out from the rest? So use the experience from the DPS to guide your future. And be bold. The opportunities are there. And normally you would say go grab them, but I'm not going to say that. I'm rather going to say sometimes it takes sacrifice, it takes compromise, and it takes putting yourself outside of your comfort zone to take those opportunities. But when you take those opportunities that makes you sacrifice, compromise, and put you outside of your comfort zone, that is a life that is rich and complete. And I would much rather take those ones. So thank you.